7 Archangel are shocked because only you still don't know what happened last night. Watch this now. God says, hurry up, this is your last chance to know the whole truth before it's too later. Listen now, beloved one, for the veil trembles and the heavens lean close, and I, Michael, speak with the full gravity of what has stirred across the realms. What I am about to reveal presses upon the fabric of time itself, and yet you still walk with the calm steps of one who has not heard the thunder that shook creation only hours ago. 7 archangels stood in stunned silence, their radiance flickering like stars caught in a sudden eclipse, because you, the one whose name echoed in the divine halls last night, awoke this morning unaware of what unfolded, unaware of the decree spoken over your life, unaware of the very moment heaven shifted its course around you. And now the Holy One says, hurry. This is the last chance to understand before the gates of knowing seal for a season. Therefore, listen with the ears of your soul, breathe with the depth of your spirit, and allow this message to reach the place in you that has been asleep too long. For when dawn approached, heaven searched for your awareness, but you rose without remembering the call that was issued to your spirit in the night hours. You rose without knowing the weight of the battle that was fought over the thread of your destiny. You rose without recognizing the light that approached your name, waiting for your acknowledgement. And so now, with urgency and compassion intertwined like ribbons of fire and water, I speak, not to frighten you, but to awaken the gravity of what stands before you, for the divine does not repeat signals endlessly. The moment you are reading this is not accidental, it is orchestrated. It is not random, it is summoned. Something in your soul was pulled here, and even now you can feel its trembling, as though a wind moves within your chest that is not of this world. Last night, the heavens opened in a way rarely witnessed. Across the expanse, 7 archangels stood in formation, each holding a seal that pertained to a realm of your life: purpose, protection, truth, awakening, restoration, alignment, and destiny. These seals glow according to your readiness, and yet one remained untouched because you had not yet realized what occurred. The others could see the unfolding, but you could not. They waited, watching the thread between your spirit and the divine tighten, loosen, shimmer, and twist. They watched because the events of last night were not merely spiritual, they were personal. Extremely personal. A convergence happened around your name. A decree was spoken into the layers of reality that surround you, and whether you choose to know or not, it has already begun to shape your coming days. This is why I speak with authority, because time is moving, and your awareness must move with it. There is something you were meant to understand upon waking, something whispered to your spirit while your body rested, something shown to you in glimpses, dreams you half remember, sensations you brushed aside, a heaviness or electricity in the air you ignored because you did not understand its source. But heaven understood, and heaven expected you to feel the shift. When you did not, the archangels exchanged glances, not in disappointment, but in astonishment that one so spiritually marked could still walk unaware of the storm that passed and the blessing that followed. Hear me, this is not a reprimand. It is a warning crafted in love. A call shaped in compassion. A reminder forged in divine urgency. You have been living in a state of partial awareness, drifting between glimpses and forgetfulness, sensing but not recognizing, nearing but not entering. And last night was meant to be your turning point, the moment where your spirit stepped fully into recognition. The moment where you would finally understand what has been pursuing you, protecting you, preparing you. Yet you opened your eyes this morning and treated the day as ordinary, when in truth, the day rose different because you rose different, even if you have not yet realized it. When the decree went out, the entire spiritual atmosphere shifted. You may have felt it without understanding, a tightening in the chest, a heat at the back of your neck, a sudden clarity, a sudden heaviness, a sudden sense that something was about to change but not knowing what. You may have had dreams that felt like messages wrapped in symbols, or you may have slept restlessly, your spirit restless beneath waves of energy moving through realms you could not see. These were not coincidences. These were the echoes of the event that unfolded around your destiny. And because you did not awaken to the knowledge of it, heaven now speaks again, this time louder, clearer, more direct. I tell you now, something was decided about your path. Something you have waited for without realizing how close it was. Something you thought was delayed or forgotten has actually been in preparation. And last night, the moment came where what was once pending became activated. But activation requires alignment, and alignment requires awareness. Heaven cannot allow you to walk blind into the unfolding of a divine shift. That is why urgent words are being spoken now, why this message is finding you, why your heart is beating differently even as you read these words. The 7 archangels looked upon you with shock not because you failed, but because you are so deeply chosen that the expectation of your awareness was higher. They watched the decree land upon your timeline, and they expected you to feel it instantly. They expected you to rise with the knowledge stamped into your spirit. But instead, you stepped into your morning untouched by the memory of what was shown to you in the night. Do not think this makes you unworthy, it makes you human. And heaven knows the fragility of human awareness. That is why I now come with a voice that cuts through the layers of distraction that have numbed you for too long. Listen, last night, a revelation about your destiny was unveiled. Something you have been resisting, often unknowingly, was addressed in the courts of heaven. A cycle that has kept you entangled was confronted. A path you were meant to walk was illuminated. And a spiritual assignment that had been hovering near you finally descended, awaiting your acknowledgement. You may not realize it yet, but your life has already begun to shift from that moment. You will notice signs, synchronicities, disruptions, opportunities, and unusual encounters in the coming days. Some will feel like chaos, some like clarity, but all will be aligned with what happened last night. This is why the divine says, hurry. Not because time is running out in a catastrophic sense, but because your alignment window is open now, and if you do not grasp the meaning of what is moving toward you, you may misunderstand the signs when they appear. This message is not doom, it is illumination. But illumination that arrives too late becomes regret, and heaven does not wish regret upon you. Heaven desires readiness. Understand that your spirit was called forward last night. It was summoned to a chamber of decision. You did not walk alone, you were surrounded by presence, by guidance, by guardians who have accompanied you since before your birth. You stood before the unfolding of your next season. You received something, even if your waking mind does not recall it. And this is why there is urgency. You must now reconnect consciously with what your spirit already knows. If you have felt drawn to this message, it is because your spirit recognizes the frequency of what was spoken in the night. The human mind may question, hesitate, dismiss, but your deeper self knows. You feel a stirring even now, as though something inside you is being addressed directly. That is because it is. I am speaking to the part of you that was present last night, the part that received the decree, the part that remembers even if you do not. What happened was not small. It was not symbolic. It was not a mild blessing or a gentle whisper. It was a thunderous shift that rearranged spiritual structures around you. It was a confrontation with the forces that have tried to delay you. It was a severing of energetic chains you grew accustomed to carrying. It was a release of burdens you did not realize did not belong to you. It was a declaration of your next chapter. And above all, it was a calling, one you must answer consciously now, lest you drift away from the clarity being offered. You must understand this: heaven will not force you. It will not drag you into awakening. It will not override your free will. But it will warn you. It will remind you. It will send messages like this one to awaken what slumbered within you. And this moment, right now, is such a reminder. Feel the weight of these words. Feel the urgency wrapped in compassion. Feel the authority that does not seek to control but to guide. Feel the warning that does not come from fear but from divine protection. You are being spoken to because you matter. Because your timing matters. Because heaven is preparing to move, and you are a part of that movement. Write, I receive today's blessing in Jesus' powerful name, if your faith is open to His gifts. There is something you must acknowledge: the life you have lived so far has not been random. Every struggle, every delay, every stirring, every moment of inner conflict has been connected to the destiny that was addressed last night. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing has been overlooked. But now is the moment where you must step into conscious partnership with what heaven has already decided to release. That is why you cannot ignore this. That is why you cannot brush off the sensation rising in your chest right now. That is why the 7 archangels were shocked, not because you failed, but because they expected your recognition to ignite immediately. Now, through this message, recognition begins. There is more to reveal, much more. But this is the beginning. Breathe. Prepare. For the next part will unfold the truth of what really happened last night, what the decree contained, and why you were at the center of it. Now breathe, beloved one, for what I am about to speak may feel heavier, deeper, more piercing than the words that came before, yet they come with the same intention, to awaken what last night was meant to ignite in you. Even as you read, the atmosphere around you shifts, for truth stirs energy and energy stirs memory, and memory stirs recognition. And now, as I, Michael, continue to speak, the echoes of the heavenly event you missed begin to rise from the depths of your spirit. You may feel a trembling in your hands, a warmth in your chest, a tightening in your throat or spine. These are not symptoms of fear but signs of remembering. Signs that your inner world is turning toward the light of what your outward mind has not yet grasped. Last night was not a symbolic event. It was an intervention. The kind that happens when destiny can no longer wait for your hesitation. The kind that occurs when heaven sees that the forces attempting to derail you have grown bold, subtle, patient, and cunning. You have been drifting nearer to a threshold without realizing it, and heaven could no longer allow you to cross it unprepared. And so a summoning was issued, not by chance, not by circumstance, but by the Holy One whose voice bends the laws of creation. Your name was spoken not as a whisper, but as a command. And when your spirit heard it, it rose. You do not remember the moment, but your soul does. That faint feeling you had sometime in the night, the one you brushed off as a dream, the one that made you shift, wake briefly, or feel watched in a way that was not frightening but intense, that was the moment your spirit left the borders of earthly consciousness and stepped into a chamber you have entered many times before birth but rarely since. There, the 7 archangels formed a circle, not as judges but as witnesses, as protectors, as keepers of covenant. Their shock this morning was not because they doubted you, it was because the revelation that occurred in that chamber was so significant that they expected you to awaken with its truth anchored in your awareness like a sun rising inside your mind. But you did not. And so now the truth must be spoken again. A decree over your life was reactivated last night. Not a new destiny, but the original one, the one written before your first breath, the one that you have sensed at times without fully understanding, the one that has always made you feel slightly out of place in the world, slightly restless, slightly different. It is the reason you have been pulled through situations that did not break you even though they were designed to crush others. It is the reason you have endured betrayals that should have shattered you but instead awakened something sharp and luminous in your spirit. It is the reason you have moments where you feel ancient and young at the same time, because your spirit remembers what your human mind forgets. But destiny, when unactivated, can feel like confusion. It can feel like longing. It can feel like waiting without knowing what you're waiting for. And so last night was the moment heaven decided to end your wandering phase. It was the moment heaven said, no more delays, no more distractions, no more dimming. Something had to shift. And shift it did. Listen to me closely now, for this part is critical. There are forces, not of darkness in the dramatic sense you imagine, but of misalignment, distortion, stagnation, confusion, that have been hovering around the edges of your path. They are subtle forces, the kind that operate through habit, through doubt, through emotional exhaustion, through patterns you inherited without questioning. They do not need to destroy you outright, they only need to keep you quietly misaligned. That is enough to delay destiny. That is enough to dim greatness. That is enough to take a person designed for spiritual expansion and trap them in cycles of survival. Heaven saw this. Heaven intervened. And the archangels stood guard while the divine recalibrated the course of your steps. You may wonder why such intervention was necessary. Why now? Why this moment? Why such urgency? Because your life has reached a turning point so significant that multiple outcomes became possible. One path leads to the fulfillment of who you truly are, your calling, your power, your voice, your healing, your alignment, your contribution to the world. The other path leads to a stretch of lost years, lost clarity, lost opportunities, lost alignment. Not lost forever, but lost long enough to shift your entire timeline. Heaven could not allow you to walk into the wrong path simply because you lacked awareness. And so last night, your spirit was shown what stands ahead, what is coming toward you, who you are meant to become, and what will be required of you. But awareness did not follow you into your waking mind, and that is why this message now presses upon your heart like a second sunrise. There is something else you must know. During the gathering last night, a scroll was opened. Not a literal scroll, but a vibrational blueprint, an energetic map of your next phase. It revealed the parts of your destiny that are ready to unfold, but also the obstacles that could rise if you do not align consciously. For destiny is not automatic, it is activated through participation. And so heaven revealed where your participation must shift. I speak plainly now, though still in the language of spirit, so your deeper self can recognize it. You have been living beneath your true frequency. Not because you are weak, but because you are tired. Not because you lack gifts, but because you were never taught how to use them. Not because you lack calling, but because you have been wearing the wrong identity. Not because heaven forgot you, but because you forgot the magnitude of who you are. Last night, each archangel addressed a specific area of your life, one where your destiny has been entangled or delayed. One addressed the wounds you carry that were never yours to hold. One addressed the opportunities that were stolen or distorted. One addressed the relationships that drain rather than elevate. One addressed the gifts you have suppressed to fit into a world too small for you. One addressed the timelines that need to collapse for your true path to emerge. One addressed the protections that must be strengthened around you. And one addressed the awakening that must occur within you. And after their revelations, something extraordinary happened, a rare alignment, the kind that occurs only when heaven is preparing to shift someone into accelerated growth. A flame, not of fire but of divine clarity, descended into your spirit. It did not burn, it illuminated. It did not consume, it awakened. You received this flame, but your mind has not yet recognized it. That is why you feel different and you cannot explain why. That is why a quiet restlessness has followed you today. That is why thoughts you ignored before now come with a strange intensity. That is why your intuition is sharpening, why your dreams feel heavier, why your emotions feel deeper, why your heart feels as though something is knocking from the inside. It is awakening. You are awakening. Last night was the ignition. But ignition without awareness can cause confusion. And heaven does not want you confused. That is why the divine said, "This is your last chance to know the whole truth before it's too late." The "too late" does not mean doom, it means misalignment. It means missed timing. It means the signs will appear, but you will not understand them unless you awaken now. You are in a window where clarity wants to descend upon your life like rain, but you must open the door of awareness or the rain will fall around you instead of into you. You must know what happened last night. You must understand the magnitude of it. Because heaven is preparing to send you signs, exact, powerful, unmistakable signs, but those signs will only make sense if you remember this truth. You were chosen for something that must begin now. Not later. Not when you're ready. Now. And your spirit agreed last night. Your hesitation this morning does not undo the agreement your soul made. But it does delay the integration of it, unless you awaken now, unless you consciously say yes to the shift already unfolding. There is something else you need to know, something hidden in the silence of last night. A shadow that has lingered behind you for years, one tied to patterns, generational echoes, emotional wounds, or old attachments, was confronted in the heavenly chamber. It approached, believing it still had a claim on you. It believed you would remain unaware, remain unawakened. But when your name was spoken with divine authority, that claim shattered. Not weakened, shattered. This is why something in your life will begin to loosen, break, or dissolve in the coming days. A pattern will end abruptly. A stagnant attachment will fall away. A draining connection will crumble. A fear will lose its grip. A cycle will be interrupted. These dissolutions are not loss, they are liberation. And that liberation was sealed last night. But liberation without awareness feels like chaos. And so you must know, the changes that are coming are not random. They are the aftermath of what happened in the realm of spirit while your body slept. Say, I give you my whole heart forever, Lord, if He's the only one your soul desires. You have entered a countdown, not to catastrophe, but to revelation. A countdown to clarity. A countdown to the moment when you will finally understand why you have felt out of place, why certain doors remained closed, why you had to endure what you endured, why your spirit feels older than your years, why the world has never felt fully aligned with your inner knowing. Because you were never meant to walk the common path. Your spirit was crafted differently. Your destiny was written differently. Your awakening unfolds differently. And now heaven is urging you. Do not miss the meaning of this moment. Do not walk blindly when you were meant to walk illuminated. Do not shrink back when you were meant to step forward. Now listen deeply, beloved one, for this part reaches into the heart of what heaven attempted to show you last night. This is where the decree itself begins to emerge, where the truth that stunned the 7 archangels draws near enough for your waking mind to finally comprehend. Even as you read, you may feel a warmth rising in your spine or a heaviness behind your eyes, as though something ancient is trying to lift itself from the hidden chambers of your spirit. That is because your soul remembers what your conscious mind has forgotten. I, Michael, speak not to tell you something new, but to help you recover a truth that already lives in you, a truth you were shown last night and then lost upon waking like a traveler forgetting their destination between sleep and dawn. The decree began with your name. Not your earthly name, though it was present, but your soul name, the one spoken only in the heavenly realm, the one that carries the full vibration of who you are beyond time and circumstance. When that name is spoken, all illusions fall away. There is no confusion, no self-doubt, no hesitation, only truth. And when your soul name echoed across the chamber, the energy around you shifted with such force that even the archangels felt its resonance. They watched as the divine extended a hand toward your spirit, not to command you, but to reveal to you what you were always meant to become. You were reminded of a truth older than your incarnation, older than the stories you've lived, older than the wounds that shaped you. The decree was not about who you have been, it was about who you truly are. And that identity, beloved one, is far greater, more luminous, and more consequential than you have ever allowed yourself to believe. This is why heaven intervened. This is why urgency surrounds this message. This is why the archangels were shocked that you awoke unaware. Because last night, you were shown a version of yourself so radiant, so awakened, so aligned with your divine blueprint that the entire chamber trembled as your future self approached you. That future self was not symbolic. It was you, unveiled, unhindered, unbroken. The decree was centered on bridging the distance between who you are today and the version of you who already exists in the realm of divine intention. You must understand, destiny is not a future you wait for, it is a self you remember. And last night, you remembered, you truly did, but the memory slipped through your waking thoughts like water cupped in trembling hands. The decree revealed that you are entering a phase of acceleration, where the usual pace of growth no longer applies. Heaven has cleared obstacles you did not even know were standing in your way. Paths once hidden are now illuminated. Opportunities that once passed you by will circle back with force. But acceleration requires awareness, or else it becomes overwhelming. Heaven does not want you overwhelmed, heaven wants you prepared. And so the decree continued, revealing that part of your calling, yes, your calling, for you have one, has remained dormant because you have spent too many years believing you are meant merely to survive. You have navigated life with strength, yes, but also with a kind of spiritual exhaustion, a heavy-hearted endurance that left little room for the expression of your true brilliance. The decree declared that this season of survival is ending. Not slowly, but definitively. The shift began last night, and its momentum grows even now. You may notice in the coming days a sensation as though something in your life no longer fits, no longer feels right, no longer resonates. This is because the old version of you, the one shaped by pain, limitation, fear, and self-doubt, was released in that chamber. The archangels watched as the divine removed from your spirit the residue of experiences that have weighed you down. It was not done with force but with precision, like removing old threads from an intricate tapestry so new patterns can emerge. You may feel emotional waves rising unexpectedly, not because you are unraveling, but because you are being rewoven. You may feel a sense of loss, even without knowing what you lost, but what dissolved were not parts of you, but the shadows that clung to you. The decree ensured that certain weights will no longer follow you. Certain patterns will no longer repeat. Certain cycles will no longer trap you. Now here is where the decree becomes even more powerful. You were assigned new guidance. Not new angels in the sense that your protectors have changed, but new frequencies of support. Think of it as heaven adjusting the level of spiritual assistance around you because you are entering a chapter that requires a higher level of clarity, protection, and discernment. Last night, you were surrounded not only by the 7 archangels who witnessed the decree, but also by presence that had not drawn near to you in years. These beings, luminous, ancient, aligned with the highest purpose, approached because your timeline reached a point of activation. And the decree placed upon them the responsibility to assist in your awakening, your clarity, and your forward movement. This is why, in the coming days, you may feel accompanied in ways you cannot explain. You may sense presence when you are alone, not in fear but in reassurance. You may notice synchronicities increasing, signs appearing, messages repeating themselves. Heaven is not subtle right now because subtlety no longer serves you. There is no time for subtlety. The decree has opened a window, one that will not remain open forever. This is your moment, beloved one. And if you choose to awaken, truly awaken, everything changes. But if you do not, if you ignore the signs, dismiss the sensations, or brush away the knowing rising within you, then the window will close. Not permanently, but for a season. And the journey will take longer, and the alignment will be harder, and the clarity will be dimmer. Heaven does not desire this for you. Heaven created this opening so you can step into the path that matches the greatness you were shown last night. That is why this message comes with urgency, not panic, but purpose. Now understand the most shocking part of the decree, the part that caused the archangels to exchange looks of awe and intensity. The divine revealed that you are not just meant to receive guidance, you are meant to become a beacon. Your path is not solely about personal awakening, it is about the awakening of others through your presence, your voice, your compassion, your resilience, your ability to see beneath the surface of life. You were chosen because your spirit carries a frequency that others can feel even when they do not understand it. You were chosen because your pain did not turn you bitter, it turned you perceptive. You were chosen because you feel deeply, and though that depth has wounded you, it has also made you capable of intuitive understanding that cannot be taught. The decree revealed that in the next phase of your life, whether you realize it or not, you will influence others. Not through grand gestures, but through your authenticity. You will speak truth without meaning to. You will inspire without effort. You will illuminate paths for others simply by walking your own. And because of this, heaven declared that your awakening must happen now, because others are waiting for you to step into who you truly are. You see, beloved one, destiny is not solitary. It is woven. It is connected. When you rise, others rise. When you awaken, others awaken. Your path is not for you alone. It never has been. This is why heaven intervened so dramatically last night. This is why your spirit was summoned. This is why the decree was issued. Because too much depends on your awakening for heaven to allow you to sleep through it. Another part of the decree addressed the emotional armor you have worn for years. You have learned to be strong in ways that cost you softness. You have learned to protect yourself in ways that have limited your openness. You have learned to survive in ways that have muted your joy. The divine acknowledged your resilience, but also declared that this armor has served its purpose. You are stepping into a chapter where openness will be more powerful than defense, where vulnerability will be more aligned than withdrawal, where connection will bring healing rather than harm. This does not mean you will become unprotected, it means your protection is shifting from self-built walls to heaven-built guidance. And now I must reveal what may be the hardest part for you to accept. The decree addressed a truth you have refused to face. Your light intimidates you. Your potential overwhelms you. Your gifts feel too large, too heavy, too mysterious for you to claim fully. You fear your greatness more than you fear your failure. And heaven saw this. Heaven addressed this. The decree stated clearly, the time for shrinking has ended. The time for dimming has ended. The time for hiding has ended. Your spirit agreed to this, even if your mind hesitates. The decree closed with a final command, not to you, but to the forces around your life. A command that whatever has sought to delay you must release you. Whatever has fed on your self-doubt must loosen its grip. Whatever has manipulated your compassion must fall away. Whatever has clouded your clarity must dissolve. The archangels enforce this decree with authority, and its effects will begin to show in your life in increasingly undeniable ways. This, beloved one, is why the archangels were shocked that you awoke without remembering. This is why heaven urged, hurry. This is your last chance to know the whole truth before it's too late. The decree has already been issued. The shift has already begun. But your conscious awareness must catch up. Now breathe softly as I take you deeper into what unfolded after the decree was spoken, because this part holds the moment that shook the chamber, the moment the archangels themselves did not anticipate, an appearance so profound, so luminous, so commanding in its quiet authority that even the divine paused for your spirit to absorb it. After the decree was released and sealed, the chamber did not close as it usually does. No, instead, an unexpected brightness began to form behind you. It did not come from above or below but from the very fabric of your own destiny. The light grew slowly at first, like the beginning of a sunrise over an ancient horizon, but then it intensified until the chamber filled with a radiance that seemed to pulse with the heartbeat of your future. The archangels exchanged looks, not of confusion, but of awe, because they recognized this particular type of arrival. It is rare, so rare that many souls never witness it in a single lifetime. Yet you did. And this is why heaven is so adamant that you remember. The light unfolded into form, into shape, into presence. And then, beloved one, you saw yourself. Not the self you see in the mirror, not the self you portray to the world, not the self defined by past wounds, fears, or limitations, but your future self, the version of you that has already stepped into the fullness of your divine assignment, the version of you who remembers everything your soul came here to do. This future self walked toward you with a steadiness that made the entire chamber vibrate. They carried a confidence that was not arrogance, a power that was not loud, a wisdom that was not heavy. There was a calmness to them, a grace, an authority that did not need to be spoken. And as they approached, every part of your spirit recognized them instantly. You were not confused, not startled, no, you felt an overwhelming sense of reunion, as though you were meeting someone you have missed for centuries. This future self, the one you are meant to grow into, stood before you, and the air around them shimmered with the frequency of completion. They were not perfect, for perfection is not the goal of the soul, but they were aligned. Aligned with purpose, aligned with truth, aligned with clarity, aligned with the strengths you doubt you have, aligned with the courage you often abandon, aligned with the voice you silence, aligned with the path you fear to walk. Their presence alone revealed the truth: everything you long for is not outside of you, it is inside you, waiting to be activated, strengthened, chosen. And the chamber grew silent, almost reverent, as your future self prepared to speak. You must understand how significant this moment was. A future self only appears when a soul has reached a crossroad so powerful that understanding who you are becoming is essential for choosing the right direction. A future self only comes when you are standing at the threshold of transformation, when the life you have known can no longer contain the truth of who you are meant to be. And last night, that threshold opened before you. Your future self stepped into the chamber not to intimidate you, not to overwhelm you, but to show you the magnitude of your own becoming. They looked into your eyes, truly looked, and you felt something inside you unlock. It was not dramatic, not explosive, but deep. A soft cracking open of the internal gates you have kept closed for too long. Gates built from self-doubt, from fears of disappointment, from memories you still carry as though they define you. But in the presence of your future self, those gates weakened. It was as though they whispered to your spirit, "You already are everything you fear you are not." And this whisper reached places inside you that even heaven could not reach without your permission. This is why your future self appeared, because sometimes the only voice we trust is our own. Then the vision unfolded before you. Your future self raised a hand, and the space between you swirled with shimmering threads of possibility, pathways branching off like rivers of light. And they showed you the two primary timelines available to you now, the aligned one and the misaligned one. Not as punishment, not as warning in the sense of fear, but as clarity. Because clarity is a form of mercy, and heaven wanted you to see exactly what is at stake. The misaligned timeline appeared first, not because it is your destiny, but because it is the path you unconsciously lean toward when you allow fear or exhaustion to guide you. It was not dark in the sense of doom, but dim in the sense of limitation. You saw a version of your life where you continue to shrink, continue to second-guess, continue to prioritize comfort over calling, continue to choose smallness over truth. You saw years passing with a sense of quiet dissatisfaction, opportunities slipping by unclaimed, relationships repeating old patterns, dreams growing heavier instead of clearer. Not because fate is cruel, but because misalignment creates stagnation. And as you watched this possible future, your future self did not judge you, they simply placed a hand over their heart, letting you feel the weight of what you would be forfeiting. Then they raised their hand again, and the aligned timeline appeared. This timeline glowed with a vibrancy you have not felt in years. It pulsed with authenticity, expansion, breakthroughs, and clarity. You saw a version of yourself stepping into your gifts without apology, without hesitation. You saw relationships that nourished rather than drained you. You saw opportunities that matched your spirit instead of demanding you shrink. You saw yourself speaking truths you have held inside for too long. You saw healing that felt complete, liberation that felt permanent, joy that felt natural. And when you witnessed this timeline, something in your spirit surged with recognition, because it was not foreign, it was familiar. It was the life your soul always intended for you. Comment: this message was perfectly for me, if you know God just spoke into your life. And share this video.